Hello.
Hello everyone. Sorry for the little retard. We are a little bit tardy today because, as you know, because we're having a snow around here, and because of that, some people lost power and stuff. So anyway, welcome to Multifamily on Zoom. Of all the places you could have been this weekend, there you are. Some of us are being snowed in, some of us are at home.
Something like that.
I don't know. Wherever you are in the world,
Oh, okay, okay,
at least in this country, Bridget,
okay.
you're on.
So the
Bridget,
priest, since most of them hasn't really responded.
Bridget, you on
Yeah.
speaker? Oh, there you go. All right. Hold on. Welcome to Multifamily on Zoom, guys. Thank you for coming in. And as you know, today we having a very good guest we've been trying to have all year. She's back. Finally, this year we tried early and we were able to get her. But I'm really, really, really excited to hear all she has to say. And all of you knows, um, most of you came as the queen of asset management. I know she doesn't go around and tell people, but we all know that about her. And we cannot wait to hear all she has to say, her insights. And she has so much for us today, and we are excited to hear her. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about Cam. Um, Kim Bruggeman, Multifamily Impact. She's from Lighthouse Multifamily Solution. She's founding and representing a company known for transforming investment to intentional value-driven strategies. Kim offers a wealth of solutions built on over 25 years of industry experience as a multifamily investor, owner, asset manager, court-appointed receiver, and operator of large-scale conventional affordable housing, senior and student housing property throughout the United States. Um, sorry for that. Coming in to audit, reposition, manage, or dispose of underperforming properties for lenders, private owners, and investors. She has developed a sincere passion with within Mrs. Bruggeman to empower investment and people with the necessary knowledge and tools to succeed, to build quality investment and community and purpose, and to create profit, not just in generational wealth, but also in the wealth of the resident in the community they manage and invest. She organically grew Lighthouse beyond just management solution to include the LAMP, Lighthouse Asset Management Mentorship Program, bridging the gap with asset management, a progressive educational series, and Be the Light project, connecting the unconnecting for lasting impact. Aim shine the light on the unknown and provide positive solution and genuine support to optimize your investment and minimize your risk throughout the entire investment lifecycle. Welcome back, Cam. We are so happy to have you here today.
Hey everyone, I'm so excited, Suze, to be here with y'all today and share all about asset management with you. It's actually a perfect day because to talk about asset management.
Cam, you muted. Cam, you muted.
Sorry, it said you had me muted. Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Can everybody hear me now?
Yeah, now, yeah, you might have to start all over.
Okay. Thank you, Suze, for having me today. I'm super excited to be here with y'all and share about asset management, which, as Suze has mentioned, is something that I am extremely passionate about, not only performing the role of asset management, but helping to empower others to learn about asset management and be successful asset managers on their own investments. And as Suze shared, for the last 25 years, I have been involved in both, I started in hotel management and then created developed the multifamily division, the company that I worked for, and really developed a sincere passion for multifamily and helping to create and build quality communities on purpose for purpose. So, as Sue's mentioned, I have been a court-appointed receiver for Fannie Mae and a lot of large lenders and special servicers. And what that is that is somebody who, when an asset is underperforming for a multitude of reasons, it could be poor capital infusion, poor underwriting, partnership disputes, lots of different reasons that the asset would be underperforming, that the lender would at that point appoint a receiver, have the court appoint a receiver to come in and audit the property, create disposition plans, stabilization or reposition plans. And we would also come in and manage the asset during that period of time until it was able to be stabilized or until we disposed of the investment. So what that did for me was give me a front row seat at really seeing the good, bad, and the ugly of multifamily investments. I wanted to understand, why people invested from, from the beginning, because I felt like it would help me to be a better operator. So I started going to investment conferences and just really surrounding myself with people that I could hear their stories also about why they were investing. I went to a lot of educator groups just to hear what they were teaching students and what I felt were success plans and sometimes not very successful plans. So I'm definitely a people person and a relationship person, and I have a lot of compassion and empathy for people. And I just had a strong desire to want to help them to better perform their investments and not to continue to see these um, investments fail when I thought that there were a lot of opportunities that people could, in expanding their knowledge, become better owners, better GPs, better investors, and ultimately better asset managers as well. So with that, I have Lighthouse Management Solutions, and we have also rebranded it as Lighthouse Multifamily Solutions, which is um, designed to become, I'll share a screen here with everybody really quick because it'll give you just a little bit of an insight before I start going into my presentation here. Can everybody see my screen here?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so is it large enough for everybody here?
I think it's big enough. For us, I don't know if you want to increase it, that's fine too.
Okay,
Yeah, but we can see.
so, and this will kind of, in a nutshell, tell you a little bit about my story and support what I'm going to speak about today. So, as I mentioned, the purpose of Lighthouse Multifamily Solutions is to be the solution for our clients. Not just looking at the property management side, which is where, like I mentioned, I definitely have cut my teeth and spent 25 years successfully managing multifamily, but also helping with asset management solutions, construction management. We also do due diligence and auditing to help our clients with their current management teams that they may have, where I'll come in and audit their property management team and see how I can help them to optimize their role, not necessarily replace them, but give them optimization tools and minimize their risks in there. With that, as Sue's mentioned, we've also started our LAMP program, which is our Lighthouse Asset Management Mentorship Program. That is designed to coach people on. I felt that so many times you as investors and owners have gone to these gurus and learned all the education side of what you believe is, I call it couch to 5K. You get so excited, they're teaching you how to syndicate, how to partner, how to underwrite a deal, how to talk to brokers, how to look at a market. But as you'll see here, there's a lot of gaps in that I have mentioned earlier. And with that, I've seen that it's gaps in underwriting that I felt like you needed to be addressed, really marrying the underwriting to the operational plans and to your investment models and your CapEx plans. There's a lot of gaps in partnership creation tools that I feel like are there, or even identifying you and your role and what your strengths are and what value that you can bring to the team. So those are, as I've mentioned, a lot of things that I have had that front row seat at um, contributing to success or failures. And I felt like once people got to acquisition, they got to the top of that mountain and they've turned around and started either focusing on another acquisition, and they were taught to just hand this investment right over to your property management company. And there was maybe a 3 hour course or maybe an hour maybe course on managing the manager. And nobody truly understands that you just closed on a multi-million-dollar 24-hour operating business. And who is the CEO of your business? Who is truly managing your operations and that management company? And a lot of times, if this is your first deal, this is the first time you're even working with that management company. So you don't even know how that synergy works. You don't even understand the personality differences, and maybe this is a new syndication for you as well. So you're learning a new personality and new relationships within your own partnership. And then you've turned over this brand new business that you just bought over to a management company to execute. And that is critical. And I think that a lot of people I don't understand the role of an asset manager, and they don't have anybody on their team that is going to continue to manage that management company. So they've turned around and they are doing what they, are taught to do, which is continue to acquire assets. And I've watched, and Suze, you've seen it, there's people who have got into this acquisition mode. And then, as we've seen in the last 5 years, they were new GP groups that did not have experience, but because they just continued to purchase, they look like they had experience, and then investors invested with them. And then when interest rates and COVID and inflation and bridge debt that had to go perm and people didn't know how to pivot, these inexperienced general partner groups had no idea what to do. And their property management company certainly did not support them in those decisions. So the LAMP program, the LAMP program that I established is designed to not only coach people through asset management from the beginning stages where I feel that asset management is critical, which is to start in the beginning of your cycle of underwriting assets, looking at markets, aligning yourself with a property management team and a good asset manager is critical, because if anybody is going to be your best information and support, it is me and our team, because we're going to be able to tell you, can your underwriting truly be executed for success? And the mentorship program also aligns where our teams and are able to support our students in support groups throughout that time, so that you're part of a group after that acquisition, that you're able to surround yourself with people that you can learn from, be inspired by, help each other. So during the times of COVID and interest rates and inflation, you were able to have that support. So it's something that I'm really excited about, and I'll talk a little bit about why these things are so important in just a second. But the other part that we've done is bridging the gap. And as I mentioned, in these education groups that a lot of you probably go through, you feel that you have rightfully spent a lot of money on investing in your education. You're spending the time on these types of webinars. You're spending your time listening to podcasts, going to these education groups, and doing everything that you think is right. But as I have mentioned, there are just so many gaps. There are, in that education program. And I think it's really important to understand that these groups aren't bad. They're just a step in that process, and that a lot of them are designed to motivate you and get you excited, but they're also funnels to their own ecosystem of purchasing um, acquisition. So it's designed to bring in students that they are providing value of education, but they're also weeding out people and bringing in people that have access to deals and money, where me as an asset manager, my pure goal is to just help empower you. I often say my role as the asset manager is to optimize the investment and minimize the risks. And that is my pure incentive there for you. And so we are creating a step-by-step asset management guide in education, helping our students to empower them on understanding that pre-acquisition, transition, acquisition, operations, and disposition roles, and really the importance of that. And finally, something I'll talk about is our Be the Light project. And it's something called Connecting the Unconnected for us. And again, that is something that has, through my 25 years, if you have to say, what has driven my passion the most is coming in and working with general partner groups who I've just come to love these people individually and wanting to empower them and connect them with resources that are going to help them be more successful. And that's with industry vendors, and that's with, between lenders and different vendors in markets of construction or financing or capital that they need or turns and construction. So there's a whole host of that. It's also connecting our residents. One of my passions is working with affordable housing. I think a lot of um, investments in the last 10 years that I've seen are within low income C class assets, C and B markets that are great investments for us, that you're coming in and your value add is in poor management, that you're able to bring in strong strategic management, but also that you're able to revitalize the property by handling deferred maintenance and bringing in capital to handle quality turns and consistency in that, but also building communities on purpose. And what I mean by that is truly having, an intentional plan in the beginning that I will highlight here in just a few minutes, that goes back to how are you strategically connecting your residents within that marketplace and setting them up for success. And it's strategically for us called Be the Light Project, which stands for Lead, Inspire, Grow, Help, and Teach. And as I mentioned, that's something that we do within our, as asset management within our partners that we purchase assets with, within our investors, and also within our clients and our residents. And that's leading them to resources, inspiring them, helping them to grow, and teaching and training them. And that's also in your resident base. And that's something that I think is very critical as you guys are developing these plans, that I want to, now go into more talking a little bit more, integral about asset management. But I share this not to just market our company for sure, but just to show you that my approach to asset management is very holistic. And it's not something that just looks at a straw of how to manage the manager, but it's something that I have truly invested in creating to both build, for us, we acquire assets, and we also have clients. And then also, as I mentioned, my give back is helping to coach and teach people to empower them so that you can be successful, not just in one part of this, but understanding. I know a lot of times when you guys hear about asset management, I often start with that question of asking my audience when I speak about what they think asset management is and when they think asset management should be brought in. And a lot of people respond with after you close or right before you close. And I share this cycle of these four entities of what we're building to show you that asset management truly starts today, starts now when you guys are building your relationships and network and looking at your markets and underwriting deals, or even if you've acquired assets and you're realizing that you've had some events and influences that have caused you to have to pivot, or maybe you've been in a partnership that has not been healthy and you need to rearrange that vision and create a new one. So these are designed to help you and support you along that journey throughout your this business venture. So I'm gonna does anybody have any questions? I'll pause here really quick before I go into the next part of what I want to talk about here. Nope.
I guess not. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So let me share here. Hold on. Now, I don't know how to, this is not going to be in presenter mode. Is this Suze on here? How are you guys seeing this?
I want to put it on slides, a slideshow. I want you to lose your stuff. There you go.
Okay. Can everybody see this here?
I can see them. I'm thinking other people can as well.
Okay. And I do want to preface this presentation here a little bit. So this is just very indicative of my life and asset management in general about what we have to do as an asset manager. My role is having to identify crisis and pivot often, right? And so today, this morning, I texted Suze and I said, we're in Georgia, which never gets snow and ice. And so, for whatever reason, because there's probably a sprinkle of snow outside, but we've had no power today. So, I called her and I told her, I was like, Suze, I can't shower. I can't get on my computer. I don't know what I'm going to do. And so, but it's very windy and there is snow out there now. So I'm assuming that somewhere there was some issues. So I wasn't able to get on my computer and pull together some slides that I wanted to present today. So, my initial mode was to just improvise and do some Q&A, but I like slides because I'm very much a visual learner and I like to have some things that I can follow along and also give you guys some snapshots to something if you want to take a picture, because I know sometimes it can be very daunting just to hear somebody speaking all the time. So I wanted to start so again with this, I'm using a presentation that I've done in the past. So I'm giving a couple slides. So forgive me if something gets a little janky here, but I'm going to improvise here just a bit. But one of the things I wanted to start with in asset management is asking some of you what you believe that the role of the asset manager is. If I had to ask you, what is an asset manager? Can somebody or a couple of you just give me some feedback really quick?
The asset manager manages the management company, pays the bills, probably authorizes renovations and other financing. They keep the other owners in the loops. They're probably responsible for taxes, so on and so forth.
So that's great, Sean. Yeah. Anybody else?
I would say that the asset manager, they manage the property manager, so they don't necessarily manage the asset itself, but they manage the property manager who manages the property, the day-to-day operations of the business.
Awesome. Anybody else?
They probably also raise capital if needed. If there's any capital improvements that need to be done, they're probably also responsible for raising the capital.
Okay. Bob, I
That's
saw you had your hand up. What about you?
I'm just saying, The role is to execute the
I think two
plan that was
people are
put.
talking at the same time. Hold on. Bob, can you go? Daniel, can you wait? Daniel, is he trying to talk? We cannot hear anything you said. Hold on. I'm gonna have to mute him. Okay, Bob, go ahead.
Thank you. The role of the acquisition manager is to manage the operation according to the plan that was put together for the acquisition itself, to make it come out the way that that you had planned at the outset, and to provide the appropriate returns that you had assessed would be possible.
Awesome.
That's the most general statement, I guess. A lot of detail, of course.
No, that's awesome, Bob. I knew that you'd have a good response to that. So, no, and each of you definitely provided bits and pieces that are very much accurate to that. And that's exactly my point, is that it feels very broad, right, in what you were saying. And most of you feel that when you are joining a group, yeah, I feel like and I've watched these and I've spent a lot of time, like as I mentioned, going to these conferences or going to these education things. And usually I'm a speaker at something. And so I'll spend a lot of time just listening to students and hear, their stories about where they are at in their journey. And I'm asking them what their roles are, and it's interesting to me how I feel like it's almost that somebody feels that they drew the short stick on doing the asset management. They're like, oh, I'm the asset manager because I'm good at organizing or I'm good at bookkeeping or something. And I, that's where I feel so passionate about teaching people the true role about it, because I feel that it is a lot of what, Bridget, you shared, and Sean and Bob, I think that it's a lot of, Bob, I love, love, love that you used my favorite word, plan, that you are managing a plan, because if I ask most people, they're like, yeah, I know they're supposed to manage the plan, but I don't really know what goes into that plan, Kim, or I think my plan was the underwriting. And so they think that they had that underwriting that they gave to their property management, which is really their budget that they feel that they gave. And then they're hoping that that management company, as Sean, as you said, that you're managing the management company. And I think Bridget, you said as well, that you are hoping that they have a successful plan that they're going to do. But as I mentioned, a lot of times, if this is your first acquisition, this is your first time working with that management company. And yes, Bobby or Sarah or Stephen might have worked with them before and told you that, but they could be totally different investments. They could be something that was funded differently. It could be have a total different structure. Personality differences could be impacting that in a different way within your group as well. So those are really important things to look at. But with that, my version of what a asset manager is I call it, you're the bridge. You're the bridge between the investment model, which is your owners, your investors, your lenders that are on this side, to your operational teams. And that is your property management company. That is your, as Bridget, you and Sean said, approving, your CapEx. It's definitely, your operational team would be your construction management team. It would be um, your property management team, and it's bridging that gap between the two and handling communication back and forth. So it is, your asset manager is not the one who raises money. In your general partner group, you're going to have, you may have that general partner team, and your general partner team may be partly involved in the equity raise that you guys are doing, or they may all be putting money in. So that would be where you're capitalizing your deal, but it wouldn't be a primary role of that asset manager. Usually there's a capital raiser There is an asset manager, there's an underwriter, there's somebody who works on, maybe underwriting and sourcing deals. So there's a lot of different people that make up that general partner team. And then it could be one or multiple roles of people that would, Sean, as you mentioned, that would raise money if your investment needs that, for that, or multiple people that may go on the debt for the loan side of that. So, but then there are these operational roles, as I just mentioned, within your general partner team. And so the asset manager, I feel, and I use this picture here because I feel like it goes between, it takes that plan that, as Bob mentioned, which is it starts, with your underwriting, your pro forma. But that underwriting and that pro forma are supported and supporting your operational plan. And I'll talk about this in just a minute. Your operational plan, your financial investment plan, and then your CapEx plan. So there are a couple different plans, and your role as the asset manager is to help create those plans, and it's to manage those plans, and it's to communicate and support the plans. So, you're in the beginning, if we're all uniting together and we're purchasing an asset, then we're going to say Bob is our underwriter, and he's going to underwrite the deals. And Sue's found us this amazing deal. And I can't see everybody on who's on here, so forgive me if I don't include you in my group here, but I'm sure you understand. Uh, we're working on that together, and we're collaborating together, and being able to take that underwriting and rise it above just numbers. And I think that that's critical to create the story of how we're going to execute it. Yes, we have this underwriting template that shows us, this is where we bought it, this is the money that we're needing and bringing in, this is how the 5 years looks and how it will do. But I think it is critical to have somebody in your business, as I mentioned, that is going to have the experience, that is going to be able to input on that plan and say, yes, I think that this is important for us. And I think that this can be executed successfully. And then you're going to take that plan and you're going to communicate that plan to your property management team. So often I see groups that take their underwriting, as I mentioned, and they hire this management company, and then they did not communicate a plan to them. They didn't have a vision of what their culture and their value and what they want implemented on their property. If there's anything I want to be known for on any of my assets, is making sure that every person feels that they are in a safe, affordable, quality home that they're living in. And that just because it's low income or all the way to an A-class asset, everyone deserves that space to live in. And it's identifying for me strategically my resident base and what they're needing. And I love coming into a property, and whether it's, I do properties from, we have transitional living facilities of men and women coming out of prison that need housing. We have youth aging out of foster care that need housing. We have women in domestic violence and children that need housing. And one of my other favorites is veterans. So we do a lot of strategic, intentional housing for unintentional circumstances, I often call it. Or, we also go into just affordable housing, straight into that realm of low income tax credit. And then I do all the way to student housing. I own 3 student housing properties in Auburn, Alabama, and I do senior living. So I love, the gamut of that. But as you can see for me, they're very strategic housing plans that I have to create within each one of those demographics. And it is about, people want to live where they feel they're part of a community. So when I am creating these plans, I have all of that in mind. As you see, it's beyond those numbers. And, and I'm creating that to that management company, and I'm communicating that this is what I want implemented, that, flowers are extremely important to me. I get so frustrated when I have an owner that tells me nobody cares about your flowers, Kim. And I think, yes, they do. You know, people want to live where they feel like it's got some greenery and earth and color and just it's beautiful, right? This is their home and they cost very little, but it's often very overlooked. So as the asset manager, it is your role to communicate that plan, then to help manage that plan over your management company, and then to provide support. And I share this as a separate part of it because that is very important. Often management companies will feel that an owner does not support them, that they were given this plan. And I've been there when I was just a management company. I would feel very frustrated when an owner would give me this budget that I don't even think Jesus could have executed because it was very unhealthy. There was a lot of deferred maintenance on the property. There was not a budget for deferred maintenance, or they wanted us to turn units that we didn't have the money to be able to turn. And we weren't able to get the quality of residents that were in there that we needed, or I'm sorry, the quality of residents we want to attract and get rid of the quality of residents that were in there that we needed to get rid of. And so, it really takes that strategy and timing to be able to execute that with the funding as well as, the CapEx plan and so forth, really unifying together. Let me share here. I'm going to move past here because this is, like, as I mentioned, from a different slide. And choosing your asset manager, that's, I'll go pretty fast through here because I want to get to some other points on this presentation, but this is just, in choosing your asset manager. And Suze can send out this whole deck as well. So if you guys want this, you can have what I didn't go over, or maybe we can schedule another time, or you can call me and I can, elaborate further. But obviously choosing your asset manager and somebody that you can work with and trust. I already went over this in when to bring in an asset manager pre-acquisition. That your asset manager is going to be critical in helping you with when you're touring a property, helping you. If I'm walking with you, Wilson, and you're going, tell me, Kim, what do you think about this property? I'm able to share my insight. Is it worth the time to continue to look at it? Also, get you out of your comfort zone, help you with underwriting your LOI. Your asset manager, having an experienced asset manager on your general partner team, is night and day when you're working with a broker. It's the difference of putting your toe in the door versus getting your hip in the door. When you have somebody on your team that you can tell your broker, we have closed on deals, you can tell your lender, we have the experience on our team, makes all the difference. And, versus you just saying, I'm new, and especially in very competitive markets where the broker is concerned, are you going to be able to get to closing? Are you going to be able to create the plans that are going to be able to be supported once your lender is going to look at this for their underwriting and ask you those things? As I mentioned, lender qualification. I'm going to zoom past here because I want to get past the responsibilities. I've gone through some of these things with you guys, but I wanted to talk about something on today because let's see. We talked about managing the manager. I'll go through here really quick. One of the things I really wanted to, utilize today's time for, and it was interesting as I was preparing for this presentation, and I was just having some quiet time, and something that was really heavy on my heart. Obviously, as I've shared with you and just looking at these slides, I talk about asset management all the time, and I can tell you all the, integral parts. And as I mentioned early on, I'm building a whole education program around it, right? So clearly I know, everything about what asset management is, and you can chat GPT a lot of that yourself, right? But what I want to utilize today for is sharing Kim's experience with that and what I believe is unique to our performance and what I believe is unique to success plans for us. As I mentioned, earlier about the plans, I think that that is, I have a client right now that I'm probably I could almost write a book about all the things that have gone on in this situation that have challenged me, have kept me up at night, that weigh heavy on my heart, just a lot of different things. And it's a very unique portfolio, a very unique partnership. And so there are a lot of complexities that are having to be managed within this group. And it's a new syndication of a group. So I'm seeing within the group partnership disputes. Um, I posted on Facebook this morning about sharing, Susan's presentation, this, the Zoom here, and I put on there that, you should go watch this episode or you should watch this because, having an experienced asset manager is critical. Having a healthy partnership is very important, and also having plans. So I wanted to make sure I touched on those for the group. Not only, for those of you that didn't know what an asset manager was, I wanted to intro that, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper with our time here and talk about, with this group and the dynamics of having a new partnership. I almost wish that every person within a syndication group would take that person a personality test, to identify what type of person you are. Are you, a visionary, an integrator, an implementer? Are you, and there's different ones, all different types of tests. There's the color, the number, the wealth index, the predictive index, a lot of different ones that are out there. But I think that that is genius to do because what it does is helps you to identify who you are. And one of the things that I have really learned probably in the last 5 years of my own career being a women entrepreneur, I used to think early on when I first started my business that I had to be everything and know everything. I thought I never wanted to be the dumb girl in the room. Like I mentioned, I am, a knowledge seeker. I would always read everything. And I grew up in the day before, there was ChatGPT and there was computer stuff like this. I mean, I just spent a lot of time, like I said, surrounding myself with people I can learn from. I could sit on a plane and learn about business from somebody or learn about something and markets. I just engulfed myself being a receiver in for nationwide companies. I would have to go into markets everywhere and learn about the market. So I might have, an underperforming asset in New York, one in Mississippi, and one in Tennessee that I had to figure out how to stabilize that asset and make it perform within that market. So I just, but I, one of the things that I greatly realized was that I didn't have to know everything. I just needed to surround myself with people to support myself in the things that I was not good at. And, but also be confident in the things that I am good at. I just did a talk not too long ago where I put up my report cards and it says, Kim talks too much. Kim is a social butterfly. And, Kim never meets a stranger. And they were all, needs improvement, of course, on my report card, right? Well, now I make a lot of money by talking too much and building relationships. But I found that confidence and I connect with people and and I genuinely give what I say I'm going to give, right? So it may be I talk too much, but that's who I am with that, right? So, and I share that because when you guys are in these partnerships, it's really important to define those roles, right? And have somebody who's going to be focusing on that. And if you are the asset manager, you're still collaborating with your team on those roles. But I did want to make sure that I emphasize that on partnerships and realizing that it's okay that there are people that are different in your partnerships and that you may have that type A personality and you know, uh, my partner and I are extremely different. And, he looks this way at things, and I am like a ping pong ball all the time, and so, but he is the guardrails to me with that, and it works well with us. But he never disrespects me in that partnership by saying, he says my brain is like a ping pong with a funnel tunnel, it's like things, and he gets amazed at some of the things that come down my funnel tunnel, right? That come out. And then I have to help him, to think broader about stuff, right? Where he can be very much this way. But I share that because in this situation, I'm watching a partnership where people are stepping over each other and they're not valuing each other, and it's really hurting the investment. I think that is critical to be able to respect different people's opinions in what you guys are doing here. The other is, you know, um, using each other for your strengths and setting clear roles that you guys are going to each work on. And as I mentioned, obviously, we're talking about asset management today. But if you're hiring an asset manager and or you're being the asset manager that is the experienced one in there, I think it's critical for your team to support and allow you to implement the strategies that are needing to be done. Like I'm often frustrated with this team because I keep leading them back to, you guys need to create a plan. You need to create a plan. You need to create a plan. And I feel like they're just ice skating, and there's no guardrails. And you're just like, all of a sudden you're ice skating and then you slam against the wall, which then brings you over here. And then it's a constant chaos, right? Where these plans give us all structure, right? It's in every part of our life, whether it's our budget or a plan for our life or spiritual, financial, emotional fitness, whatever it's going to be, right? Professional, we have to have those plans. So I call, if you remember on those logos that I showed you early on, there were 4 pillars of the bridge that were on there. And it was very strategically designed because I feel like there's 4 pillars to asset management in every plan that I create. And here, as I've shared with you, these are the 4 areas for me. And these are 4 areas when I'm creating a plan, and they are for the 3 plans that I would challenge you to create in your current investments or what you're looking at are your financial plan, your operational plan, and your CapEx plan. And each one of those plans should have these 4 categories within them. And you're going to say, well, what is retention? And it doesn't have to necessarily be resident retention within your financial plan, but it is in theory. But they are in each one of those 3 plans, these 4 pillars also address your people, your product, and your market. So often when people think of product improvement, they're just thinking of their building, right? So I'm going to tell you really quick. And Suze, how are we on time? I don't know.
Oh, we started late, so we kind of like right there at 3 o'clock. And I also have some questions, but I don't think I'm gonna go through them all. So
Okay,
I would
I can keep
say,
going. I
yeah,
just
we can
wanted to,
stop
yeah.
right now. Yeah, I can say we can stop, but make sure you have your contact information in there in case people want to reach out to you.
Yeah, I'll finish
But
with
you
this.
can finish your thought. Yeah, go ahead and finish your thought.
Okay. So what I wanted to, go over here, because I think this was something that it was, like I said, was really heavy on my heart today, was about these plans and what people are missing by having them. And I think it is in your plan having your risk and liability issues. And remember, this is for your people. Your people are your residents, they are your partnerships, they are your lenders, they are your employees. So it's also in your product. That is obviously in your building. It's also in your investment model. Your product is your pro forma, your investment model. Excuse me. It's also in your market. What is your market doing? Your market is also the market of your investors, right? So when I'm addressing these issues in my financial plan, my operational plan, and my CapEx plan, I have a section for each one of these. And my risk and liability issues, those are things that are going to make you lose money. Risk and liability in my people are going to be people that are maybe when we bought the property, we knew that it was underperforming for something, but we kept the people in there just for the history. So we have something during that transition, but we've identified that they may be a liability long term. So who are we going to continue? Who are we going to replace them with? It may be they need to be trained. What are, identifying the issues in our resident base? You know, when we bought the property, were there a lot of unqualified people? And instead of just getting rid of all of them at the same time, we need to have a plan of getting rid of the slow payers, the no payers, and then as we improve the property, we're marrying all three of these plans together. We're juggling all of them together so that we don't just get rid of everybody at the same time, that we're trying to improve the property and improve the reputation of the asset in the marketplace. Preventative maintenance items. These are things that are going to help you save money. Again, that's in your people, giving them additional training, helping them to understand what's going on, giving your investors updates when things are pivoting within your investment. That is critical. I can't tell you how many investors I want to just be their personal asset manager because I feel that their general partner group does not communicate to them and that they need to identify what's going on. But a good investor is getting communication from their general partner group, right? If were there events that happened when we underwrote this asset to now that we needed to communicate. So we're showing preventative maintenance that we're doing to mitigate some risks within what we bought it, right? Did we buy it and we thought we were at a 3 to 4% interest rate? And then, everything changed and we're at a 9%, right? And so, what we're doing preventatively to, think about getting a rate cap extension, things like that, right? Preventative maintenance within the marketplace that we're in. So we're also looking at the crime that we were in, or looking at, are we seeing things that we needed to handle in reputation management? All of that goes into each one of these subjects. Product improvement, things that are going to make you money. 90% of people buy an asset and they go right to product improvement. I'm going to renovate these units so that I can get a higher value out of here. But what they didn't realize is you're not going to get that quality resident by not handling the preventative maintenance things, the risk and liability issues first. You have one risk and liability issue, you lose your entire investment, whether that's in a bad employee, a bad resident, shooting in the marketplace. And believe me, I took over a property that I had 4 murders in the first week. So I know all about like having to manage all of these things at the same time, right? And it's about juggling these 4 all the time. To most people will just focus on one ball and not on all of them at the same time, and understanding that while we're improving the property, we're putting out signs that we say building quality communities on purpose for a purpose, that we are changing this, or we are doing, something positive, not just a value add in the unit, but we are building a community here, and they're starting to see those things. And then the last is resident retention, things that are going to help you keep your money. What are we doing to retain our employees? What are we doing to retain our investors? What are we doing to retain our lender for our next deal? What are we doing to retain our residents that are going to stay in our community, that want to live there? People don't want to move. I mean, it's a pain in the butt to move, right? So we want to keep our residents by building that community, by giving them resources that are going to make them want to live there. As I mentioned, in the type of housing that I do, I create very strategically. If I have women and children, I need a playground. I need resources that are going to support my demographics. If I have seniors, what am I doing? I work with a lot of corporate companies that support our properties, that help in a lot of different areas. You'd be shocked at how many ancillary support nonprofits that are in your marketplace that want to support your type of residents in there. And like I said, it can be from student housing all the way to my men and women coming out of prison that need housing. So, I quickly go through these, but I can't stress enough that you must take the time to intentionally go through these 4 areas. And this was something that, as I mentioned, I knew I wanted to talk on here, about what is asset management, and to you, what is the asset manager? But I felt it very heavy on my heart, like I said, to talk about really developing you and what value you're bringing to your partnership, being in a healthy partnership, that you guys can collaborate together, knowing your roles and knowing your responsibilities, but also having a plan that is going to be what you give to that property management company, and that you're also supporting that. And this doesn't mean that you just hand it over and you turn around and go, back to your next acquisition. Your role as the asset manager is to continue to support these things with your management team. It's to continue to provide insight and, to be that light to them, where you're leading them, you're inspiring them, you're growing them and helping them, and teaching them on what you want. They're bringing their boots on the ground, your property management team is, but you're bringing the vision of what you want your investment to do in that marketplace and how you want that executed. And I think that that is such a critical part of what I'm seeing today. I was just on another podcast recently, and somebody asked me what the number one thing I'm seeing in failing investments, and it is lacking a plan, and lacking these 3 plans, because you can have a Monday morning report that's giving you your KPIs, and you can get on every weekly call, but all you're doing is herding cattle and managing chaos. Or, as I just said earlier, ice skating, skating from one side of the rink to the other, where there is no clear and fluid motion, and you don't feel like there's, progress that you can communicate to your investors and to your team about where we're finding success, or we're starting to see some areas of concern. So I really, stress these plans. And then also, it's the other part is not having healthy partnerships where you can truly value each other, and then also talk about your plans and have collaboration and input together to execute those. So I'll open this up for, any questions. And again, feel free to reach out to me if you have any specific questions on asset management, or your deal specific, that I can help provide some insight for.
I don't know if you have a slide that has your contact information. Oh, I thought you had that you have
I
like a
do. Let me hold on one second. I will pull that up for you.
QR code. I thought I saw something like that.
Yeah, let me.
Um, I think I have a QR code. I can share it if you want me to do that. Yes. I have a question for you, Cam. As you're looking for this, thank you so much um for this wonderful presentation. And asset management, even us in the field sometimes feel a little bit not grasping everything. And a lot of people tend to mix it up with property management as well. And I like the fact that you, in the beginning, you asked people the definition, what they thought asset management was, um, which is different from property management. Um, but from everything you just said, you just gave us three. I mean, you think those are the 4 areas that um people should have, especially when it comes, to manage the property. You're talking about risk and liability issues, preventative maintenance, product improvement, and resident retention. And my question today was, I think it's going towards that as well, but it says, if you had to name the top 3 asset management metrics every GP must track weekly, what would they be? Would they be the same you just discussed right now, or would they be something different? Because we're talking about on a weekly, and you build that up going forward.
Okay. I don't think I understand the question specifically. What is the three things that I look at? The three
Yeah,
matrix?
the three metrics every yeah, an asset manager or every GP must track weekly.
Hmm.
Like every Monday morning when you receive that report or on your plan, what's something you need to visualize and every week you're gonna accentuate on. I mean, it may not be three, it might be just one, but
Yeah, so I think a lot of people are taught on they're taught on a weekly KPI, which is your standard, income, expenses, and leasing. How is your property performing in income? What is your delinquency? And then it's week over week and seeing how that's trending. When you bought the property, is your delinquency, is everybody paying within that first week so you're able to pay your expenses on time? If your debt service is due that first week, are you able to meet those goals, and your other expenses? And then also looking at leasing projections, what are you leasing? Where are you pre-lease? What is your vacancy? And then obviously, what your expenses are. I think I am very untraditional to just stare at the KPIs. I don't, just a side note for me, guys, I don't give leasing bonuses on our properties because I feel that that is our team's job. And I get a lot of negative feedback when I say that sometimes. But I am, definitely KPI based. And I say that just because I believe in having what I call outside the box goals for our staff. That are they looking, outside the box and providing value to us other than just doing their job, right? Nobody gives me a bonus just because I do my job. I get to keep my job because I do a good job, right? And so, but what makes me what makes my client want to use me on another deal is how I am able to think outside the box and provide unique value and strategies to help them. So what I look for weekly on from my team is what I call our war report, which is a weekly activity report. And it has, Sue's, a dashboard of those metrics that we just talked about. But I would have to say that what I look for more than that is the story from my team to support those numbers. So I look for more, any incidences that are happening on the property. I look for them to tell me where I just talked about those four areas: risk and liability, preventative maintenance, product improvement, and retention. I want them to tell me weekly what they're working on those four areas, because in theory, that is going to support my numbers, right? But what that also does is it tells me that my management company is is strategically and uniquely managing my asset, not just handing me a click and print report that can come over from their property management software. It's something that shows that they are providing, like they have to tell me about the work orders, and they have to tell me, give me a summary of them. They have to tell me anything that's going to be, I should get weekly, anything that's going to support my financials at the end of the month. And you're not going to see that just in a KPI metrics number, because I want to, when I tell them on the maintenance work order section, it says problem, cost, solution, status. They have to tell me there was a problem in building B, that there was a plumbing leak and it cost me $5,000, and ABC Plumbing is going to do it. This is a one-time issue. It's not going to be long-term. Or I think we need to jet out the, building, because I'm seeing a lot of work orders in this building that, so they're showing me preventative maintenance now. And then the status is it's been resolved, so then that way I know that they have communicated that issue to me. They've managed that issue, and that I'm going to see it on my financials with that $5,000 variance in the plumbing repair this month. And so what it does is it gives me the confidence that my management team is truly managing. They talk, there's a section for employees that's There's also a section for CapEx projects that they're working on. So I think it is a little bit broader than just what I would have to say are, the top metrics. I think it's more the top areas of you telling me it all goes back to those four areas again, telling me that you're managing my risks and my liabilities and you're communicating that, giving me the opportunity to um, coach you and help optimize if I feel like if you told me that there was a death on our property, somebody died, then I'm going to say, what did we get the incident report? Did we get, you know, pictures of this? I'm able to provide optimization of making sure that we've protected ourselves. If they're telling me about a leak, then I feel like they didn't look at the building. I want them to tell me that they pulled the work order history and this was unique to this unit, or they pulled it and they saw that 7 units within building B had toilets that were clogging up or issues backing up, which then shows me that they have preventatively looked at my property in other areas, right? And so that's more of what I look at on a weekly that accumulates to the monthly basis for me.
All right, thank you so much. That was really good and detailed. I think we really way beyond time, and I don't want to take Cam being so generous to us and for granted, but her generosity, I think Deepak, if you're still here, can you ask your question? Because I was a little bit, I don't think I'm listening. I think it's better if you ask it yourself.
Yeah, my thing was that, with the a property management company and an asset manager, sometimes when recommendations come in from either the asset manager or the property management company, sometimes one needs to be prioritized over the other, and sometimes there's like pushback from. Do you ever have that? Like as an asset management manager, you recommend something, and the property management company says no, not at this time, or kind of like that can wait. Do you ever have those kind of issues?
So, provide me a little bit, Deepak, a clarity on that. Like, if the property management company is requesting something of me, or
Well, no, I'm saying as an asset manager, you're as part of the plan that you want to get something done, but the property manager says, well, that can wait. It doesn't have to be done like now. Do you get some kind of that conflict or anything like that?
I get a lot of conflict with my property management companies on that. So that is a
Okay.
good, and that's why it's important to have an experienced, asset manager on your team. And it's also important, every decision I make is, remember how I kind of share, not where I kind of share, where I shared that the way my brain thinks, right? Is I have ADD and I often say it's my superpower because it allows my brain to have like 50 windows open in it at all times, right? And I'm able to think about a lot of different things all at once. And every decision that I make either impacts or influences another area. And that's how I often say that's why I'm good at asset management. Because when I'm creating these plans, as I've mentioned, my brain has to think about from the financial, the operation, and the capex. If I'm making a decision on something operationally that I need to do, I have to think about my financial plan. And is that, do I have the money to support what we're doing? How expensive is my money? How timely is that money? When are we getting that money? Is it a lender? Is it a lender escrow that I have to get that money back? Do we have to have the money to spend to do that project, right? Or, as in what you're saying, if my management company recommends something, then we don't have the money to do that. I say to the management company, it's your job to, excuse me, not to fund what we need to do, but to communicate what needs to be done. They're the boots on the ground. They're the people that are executing our plan, right? But remember, it's our plan. So a lot of times the management company may have a different vision of what they think needs to be done. But that's why it's important, if you remember how on that bridge, if you and I are the asset manager, our job is to communicate this plan to the management company. And a lot of times I get a lot of negative feedback from management companies where they say, that's not the way we do it, or that's not our job. That's not what we want to do, or we disagree. And I think it's really important in the beginning to understand what is the role of your property management company. And I put that in my contracts, so that they know that these are their roles. But then it is like on that war report that I mentioned, I will, we've talked about our plan, but the management company has the opportunity to put on that weekly report any suggestions that they have. So in a scenario where we wanted to put a playground in, right? Then the management company may say, well, we don't want to do the playground yet because we feel like we need to get the community center up and running first because it's really cold here in New York and our residents need an indoor place to to meet and have community. So they might provide their feedback in that scenario where indeed we would pivot on our plan, but then again, it would be updating our plan and making sure that our financial plan supported that. And then we were still continuing with the playground that might need to be done. But it's about having a discipline to following the strategies of those plans, but also, yes, listening to our team, but also making sure that our team respects our plan.
Like, thanks.
Okay, thank you so much. Guys, as you already know, Cam already discussed that she has a mentorship program. If anyone interested, make sure you get her contact information if you want to join her mentorship program for um asset management, which is very the very foundation in order for you to run a property, as we all know. We don't talk about it enough. People think it's raising money, people think it's underwriting, but I believe asset management is right there because you can raise all the money you want for a property. If you don't have the right people to manage the asset, you may end up losing people's money. So that is very, very important. Um,
That's so scary. And guys, I'll caveat off that, Suze, because I'll tell you where I think it's been heavy on my heart today. These plans, guys, are so critical. I mean, when you are, especially in a syndication where you're using other people's money, I mean, even if it's your own money, you want accountability to, that underwriting, that beginning part is only part of it. Detailing in these reports and detailing in these plans where you've had to pivot and why are so critical because I have seen so many clients through the SEC, have it's not just civil, it's criminal, because they feel like if an investor has lost money, they're going to come to you first, right? And they're going to be not just financially, but if they feel that you have not communicated to them, then you could be criminally negligent for taking their money and not um, executing on the business plan that you sold them on, right? So I help to protect you in those areas as well and making sure that we're updating our investors correctly. And these plans are critical for that, right? So if you've had to pivot in the rents that you thought you were going to get, that maybe you can't get, or if you couldn't put the playground in because we had to use the money for the plumbing, then at least we've talked about that and we've communicated that, right, to our investors and to our team. So I think that that is so important to have.
yes, thank you so much. Now, guys, please put your camera on so we can take a picture, all of us together with Cam.
Oh, I'm
As you
gonna
guys know, I like the, yes, you can go ahead and take, there you go. So everyone put your, let me see if I can have this as the view, not immersive, let me see. I got a review. Yes. Guys, there's more of you. Anybody want to put their camera on so we can have a picture together? Because what I do with those pictures, I make a post with them on LinkedIn and on Facebook. So if you guys follow me, you guys can see that. And we talk about the takeaways of the meeting. And hopefully other people will join us. And because I feel like it's very those information we get in here are invaluable. And that's why I always ask you guys to bring your friends, bring your family, and so we can discuss those, because if you're gonna do the business or if you're gonna be an investor, it's and not knowing these things, and those things are very practical and foundational for what we do, pivotal for what we do. So I think it's very, very important. So everyone, go ahead and smile. Cheese. Hold on. I had something else in there that not letting me. Hold on. Every time I pull it, okay, yeah. I think I have that. Okay, go ahead and cheese. All right. Thank you. Yeah, I had
Didn't
a
see any
picture.
flash.
You didn't see
I
the
don't know.
flash? Sorry. You want another one, Kim? Kim, like very nice pictures. I know how she is. Let's get another one for Kim because she likes pretty pictures. Let's get another one. All right. Cheese. All right.
I'll
This
probably
is
be laughing or have my eyes closed or something.
your eyes not closed.
That's
I'll
because
send it to
Zeus
you.
will take pictures and
This one, your eyes not closed. I'll send you a picture. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, guy. Kim, thank you, thank you. I know what you had to go through this morning to be here. We truly appreciate you. And guys, I think we should vote for Kim to come here every quarter. That way, because asset management is so big, you really need to hear that more often. The same way I do with the tax. The taxes, they come here once a quarter. I have the people who do self-directed IRA come in once a quarter, because the reason why those things are things you need to keep on beating and beating and beating and until it stick into people. And I think asset management is so foreign to most of us. And I think we need to push a little bit harder for it. All right, so thank you so much. Make sure you guys keep safe. If you don't need to be outside, you don't know how to drive in the snow, stay away. I'm one of those people. I don't like to drive on the snow. Um, but I'll see you next week. And next week will be about taxes. So thank you so much, Cam, and everybody who are here, because I know for a lot of you, you could have spent that time with your family. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
thank y'all
Thank
for
you,
having me.
Suze. Thank you, Kim.